Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat. Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by the one and only Johnny Larkin and the one and only Sambo. How are we, chaps?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good. The voice is starting to go. I've been doing daily podcasts over on my other project, the Jake Motel Sports Experience. So I've been doing daily episodes Monday to Friday. The voice box has just about shat itself. But if you want to go and check out that, we talk about a lot of different sports over there. If you want more than just the Cats, go and check it out. Feeling good. Looking forward to another pod with you, chaps. A lot to get into on the show tonight. Not as much as the last few episodes where we've had 2 games to recap, 2 games to preview. We've got 1 game to recap. We're going to have to talk all about the AFLW Swans. I've generously said they sneak past the Cats in round 3. I mean, it was a 5-point margin, to be fair. That's a bit of a sneak. And then we're going to preview the AFL men. The Cats looking ahead to a qualifying final against the Lions this Friday night, chaps. Oh, the nerves. The nerves starting to kick in here on a Monday night. Just noticed Johnny's done a bit of facial grooming. The mustache has been cleaned up on the upper lip. Looking tidy, Johnny.
The hair.
Your hair gone?
Oh.
Not all of it. Just...
Oh.
Yeah.
Much tidier. Much tidier.
Very nice. Very tidy.
Just a bit shorter.
Was really, I'll be honest.
You look like you're on less.
I was hoping for a mullet. Yeah. Less being the operative word. Sambo, when was the last time you took a pair of snips or clippers to your facial hair or the hair on your head?
Facial hair is pretty regular. I don't know exactly, but I pretty regularly shave it off, and then it just kind of crawls back.
Falls back.
Yeah. It doesn't. It grows fast. It gets to a point and then doesn't ever really fill out much more than that. But it gets to that point really fast. And my hair, I probably trimmed my hair only a few months ago. It also seems to have absolutely sprouted. Because I cut my hair when I cut my son's hair. Because when he had his haircut, which I think a couple of months ago, and I trimmed my hair all the way sort of back up above the shoulders, and it's back again.
A lot of follicle discussion here on the podcast tonight. I have to say that Johnny's lost the hat. This is why you should watch the video show. Johnny, sneakily increased the hotness ratings here, Sambo. Like, I think he's gone up here.
We didn't think it was possible. We thought he'd peaked. And he's actually.
I thought he'd peaked too, but he's unlocked another level.
Johnny's aging like a fine wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely.
He really is. We've talked about what's on the show tonight. We need to talk to you about who brings the show to you. And that, of course, is our glorious media network sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. We thank them for their support. You can visit them, www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. Make sure you spell cook with an E. You can phone them up on 035 222 2244 or visit them at Shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. And remember, if you want to make use of a 20% off discount, we've got things coming up. We've got Father's Day coming up. You might just want to be a good, a good son or daughter to a parent. You might just want to be a little romantic to your significant other. Get a little saucy in the floral department. Well, if you want to knock 20% off your next purchase, go on over, put Go Cats in the voucher field at checkout, and Cyril Cook, our friends there, will knock 20% off your next flower purchase. We thank them for their sponsorship, and on we roll, chaps. First up, AFLW recap as the Swans get the job done against our Cats. Now, this was the 16th place Cats hoping for a first win of the season as they played host to the third place Sydney Swans at Kardinia Park on Saturday afternoon. Geelong couldn't have sprung out to a better start. They applied serious amounts of forward half pressure and attacked with speed to race out to a 3-2-20 to one behind lead at quarter time. But from the moment play restarted after the break, it was clear that the Swans had made adjustments and were taking control of the game. Sydney kicked the game's next 4 goals to lead 4-3-27 to 3-4-22 at the half. The team in red and white finding answers whenever the Cats posed questions. Geelong hit the front early in the third term via the boot of Aisling Maloney, but Sydney struck back with a major of their own to Cynthia Hamilton. The Cats had the scores level nearing three-quarter time when Maloney split the uprights again, but once more, Sydney responded with a goal to Sophia Hurley. The fourth term opened with a flurry of Sydney scores, 2 behinds and a goal to push the margin out to 15 points. Geelong rallied, piling on the match's final 5 scores, but Aisling Maloney's third goal of the day was surrounded by 4 minor scores, leaving the home team an agonising 5 points short when the siren sounded. The Swans triumphing deservedly. Some people would say deserving. 7-8-50 to 6-9-45. When Sydney shifted pace and styles, the Cats lacked an answer. They were unable to move the ball with precision. The spread for the Swans was professional. They led the uncontested ball plus 24 and committed 5 fewer turnovers. Ruck, Ali Morfitt was a difference maker. 18 hitouts, 9 marks, 4 tackles, 6 clearances, and she was a key factor in ensuring the Swans win and keep themselves locked in the top 4. Geelong's season hangs disturbingly by a knife's edge. I don't know if you hang by a knife's edge. It hangs on a knife's edge. It sits on a knife's edge. Just 3 matches in. Johnny, I'm going to come to you first here. You had it earmarked. Some fumbling and poor decision-making for the Cats. Put them in not a great position. What are your thoughts there? Your opening statements on the game?
Not going to lie, this was probably one of the more disappointing losses the Cats have had in a little while. I thought we were in for a really good shot at winning this, especially the way we started. I thought the way the Cats started was fantastic and on fire and looking likely to dominate and get going. And then the Swans started, as you said, picking up their pieces and getting in their groove and their rhythm. And once that sort of started happening, the Cats just kept making these decisions that you just go, what was that decision choice there where you just handballed it to a player who was surrounded by Swans players and had no chance of disposing of it properly herself, getting tackled, losing a ball, having it turned over in a really poor spot. And it was like, we put this one player in this immense pressure, and it felt like we kept doing it. I saw him, there was one moment, one player had the ball, I think it was either off a mark or a free kick, and I saw another player running into the 50. It could have been an easy, kick over the top of these Swans defenders, 3 of them. And instead, the handball went to this other player in the middle, surrounded by 3 Swans players. And I was like, what is that? What is that decision? And usually we're really good decision makers. And I thought this game, we were just making these bizarre, odd choices in either one, overuse of the handball, I thought. Like we handballed way too often in really not ideal positions, 2 players in horrible positions. And yes, some of these would have worked off really well if the Cats weren't so fumbly or missed the handball. Like there was too many that I counted where the handball was behind a player and they had to turn around, stop, pick it up. And by that time, the Swans were on that player and turning it over. So I just thought the overuse of the handball, the fumbling, put every Cats player in a really bad spot and just gave the Swans that extra oomph to go, we've got them here, we can get this, we can turn it over and pressure them. And it just kept happening. And I just thought it sort of felt like we'd regressed in a way to this style of football, whereas just get it forward no matter what. no matter what, we'll keep running, keep pushing it forward. And against good teams, it doesn't work because they're onto it. And I thought we've got players that are better than that. And I think the better players did their best, but some of the other players, yeah, I just thought should be in a better position than what we are with the team we have. And it's getting a bit frustrating seeing these same issues pop up that were there a couple of years ago.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that seems sort of like a good pivot point too. You know, you're talking about there, Johnny, like it's not just the execution of the handball, it's the decision in the first place in some of these points. And Sambo, it's another week. It's a record number of weeks in which we have to mention the two S words, structure and system. I throw to you here your sort of opening thoughts on the game and the examples for you of where the structure and the system fell down for the Cats against the Swans.
Yeah, I think it's the same issues, and I'm just kind of noticing different results from the same issue of the sort of lack of structure, and I think our inability to run out the games too, like to sustain it, and I don't think that's necessarily, I talked last week about the sort of gut running and getting exhausted rather than just being in the right spot. And I sort of said our players were getting sort of gassed, and I was it was remiss of me not to specify. I intended to specify last week that I don't mean they're unfit or something by the standards of the AFLW athletes. I mean they're making themselves work more than the AFLW athletes should have to work. So it's, I felt like maybe I came away like almost criticizing their fitness, but it's specifically not the fitness. It's they're having to work at such a level that's beyond the level of fitness that they're at, which is a perfectly good level of fitness for the sort of elite level that they're at. And this week it's sort of similar, but I really feel like it's a third S word that comes into play here, which is support. Structure, the support through structure, and the specific way this popped up is, as we've talked about with our depth, we've got those sort of top 6 players who are doing their utmost to drag the team over the line. And I just feel like it was really evident when the game was ebbing away and there was moments on the line and we would have those superstars, your Georgie Prasparkas, your Nina Morrison, your Amy McDonald. I thought Julia Crockett-Grills has been very solid as well, and she's another one. You have these players charge. So they're on a player or they're in position, they're whatever it may be, and they see the opposition with the in possession streaking away. And they're the ones who shoulder it and go, I'm going to charge this player, which is the right call. But they have to do that, they have to peel off their position, off the player or the spot that they were in. And what I think is happening is those players are then doing that. And if that tackle doesn't stick or doesn't get there in time, which happened a lot because I felt like Sydney's decision-making was often very, very good. On the flip side, to John's point, I felt like Sydney's timing and decision-making was pretty elite. And you ended up with these superstar players of ours looking a little bit desperate, slapping a hand on the jumper as the player, got past them or got the disposal off. And nobody filled that hole. So the pressure is right. The pressure act is right. Peeling off is right to go to that player, do that the X factor thing, that extra level of, that's why you're Amy McDonald. That's why you're Nina Morrison, because you do those things. But if the players around them don't see that happen and fill the hole, take the player that they've just peeled off, fill the space that they just exited, what was happening was we were getting these big gaps, big spaces on the field, or free players. And it just makes this way too simple for Sydney to pop a little handball or a little chip kick over the top, along the ground in front, into space, and they were able to just absolutely gobble that up all day. I thought the Swans, they sort of sucked in that pressure and then just popped it over the top, especially after the first sort of quarter. Like the first quarter, I think, we piled on a bit of pressure. I think the Swans were on the back foot, so you didn't see it as much. But as the game started to slip away and you could see those top sort of 6 players of ours doing all they could, it just became so obvious that they were doing too much and the gaps weren't being filled, both metaphorically and literally. The literal gaps weren't being filled that were being created. I thought it was numerous times when you saw Julia Crocker-Grills charge, not quite make the tackle, and in the moment you go, oh, you got to make the tackle stick. But in reflection and watching back and that kind of stuff, as I said, I think it was the right call from Julia Crocker-Grills, from Nina Morrison, from Amy McDonald, Georgia Prasparkas. They were making the right call, but they weren't being backed up by the next player or the next two players to shift over and sort of man up, take that next player. So that, again, going back to structure, is just it's sort of fundamental, but it's so important. It can make the other team look really good if you're like, how are they finding these players? How are they picking us apart like this with relative ease? And I thought that created a real imbalance in, like, that's what helped create an imbalance in the marking sort of department. Because as far as I know, I'll have to look at this. I feel like they absolutely smashed us in the as far as marks go.
Because
I mean, 45 to 57.
45.
Yeah, marks inside 56-4, but contested marks 9-3. So I feel like that the fact that they were smashing us in contested marks as well sort of adds to it, because we were creating all this uncontested possession for them, and then when they were forced to kick to a contest, they were still winning it. So yeah, I just felt like we could have made that easier on ourselves by letting that pressure land and then filling up the hole behind it. And that's how you create that panic in the players. You got someone charging at you and you don't have an obvious option. So you have to bite off more than you can chew, go to a not obvious option and bring the ball into contest. And hopefully that's where we, the rest of our players can be called to action.
Is this where you were talking, Johnny, with, like letting the Swans use the ball, with too much ease? That was a note you had, like that we let the Swans use it too easily. What stood out to you there?
I also, like when they were exiting defence, they seemed to be able to pick up these players with a bit too much ease. Like, when it was just that kick player, they'd just kick it to one player, hold on to it, look for the next option. And I'm sure it's part of the Cats' game plan is to, get that system defence, fall back. But I just feel like too often they were getting up the ground too easily from those kicks, just kicking it to each other uncontested. We weren't putting enough pressure on the individual players to really pressure them, and they were just able to cut through us really straightforward and really simple. And once you let teams use that kick to kick, they get that confidence, that belief in themselves that they can start doing it a bit quicker and a bit quicker. And I think that's what happened with the Swans. They're able to really speed that up. And then that in turn goes into what Sam was saying about the pressure. Like, we had those six players who were pressuring, but we didn't have those ones backing them up. And I thought, sort of fell into that thing of like, who's going to pressure that one? If I leave my player, this player, they're going to be open. It just felt that system, when it sort of wasn't there, let them carve through us a bit too easily. And then they were able to lock us in our defence for so long and really effectively. And then, when we did exit, it was always those long panic kicks out, just to get it out of there, as you do when you're under that much pressure. And it just let the Swans set up. So I think that ability for them to go from defense to their attack was a bit too straightforward, a bit too simple from them. So yeah, and I think they went like nearly coast to coast 3 times. So I heard it. They're nearly going to go coast to coast here, the Swans. And it's like, where's our players pressuring? Where's our players hunting this team down to really pressure them? And I just thought too often they're able to breeze through the middle a bit too easily. Whereas I think we should be able to do that. The opposition, we should be able to run it through, kick it through them, and be smart with the ball. Swans were really,
I think. Yeah, they're very well coached. Like, there was some stuff, and I was messaging you, Chaps, about it. And I sort of tend to leave more of the speculative stuff off the pod, and I will do that here. But I will just say that, as I lose my microphone, like, good catch, Jake. I thought that listening into the Swans coaching group at halftime or I think it was at 3/4 time, whatever it might have been, was kind of eye-opening. Like they were talking about situation. Remember the situations, basically, you know, that we've practiced. Remember grid. Remember, be ready for that, blah, blah, blah. It was very technical. And I don't know, maybe it's not that technical, but it certainly sounded technical from a viewer's point of view. And I just thought it showed out and proved out during the game that was my big takeaway was, and I think it hits in all the points that you chaps have discussed too, that there was no second gear in Geelong's game plan. And I don't think it's the first time. I think we're seeing patterns emerge in all 3 matches we've played where we can say, oh, we were really in the game. And then over the course, like what happened against North, we're really in the game against North. As soon as the rain fell, North Melbourne adapted, kicked like 5 wet weather goals or whatever it was, and the game was done. The Crows, I think they just wore us down over the course of the match. I mean, we started really hot against Adelaide and they clamped down on us and stopped us doing our A game plan. And we really didn't have much after that. And then on the weekend, I thought you could almost feel it happening. Just prior to quarter time, I thought you could feel the match starting to change. And immediately out of the gate in the second quarter, I was going, oh no. Because I do think we lack a second gear. Like once a team takes the speed out of the game and makes it into more of that game of chess where we're going to chip it around, we're going to move it around, you know, a little bit methodically. I just don't think the Cats are capable. They're either not willing or they're not capable of breaking down an opponent with methodical ball movement. Like what seems to happen is if things are stagnant, we bomb away down the line. And on the weekend, that was just playing into Sydney's hands when you've got players like Ali Morfitt there waiting to sort of, you know, prey on that long ball. There were so many times where I actually felt like Rachel Kearns really understands that you have to switch. And there were moments where she would switch it laterally in defense, and then someone else would have another lateral option to go, or maybe an option 15 meters down the line, open, and instead we kick it over that player's head to a pack of 3 players, like a 2-on-1 outnumbered the Swans. And it's just like, what are we doing? It's madness. Like you've got an open player, take the open player. But it was really frustrating. I think that when we can move the ball with speed on a counter attack, we look great. If we can attack straight out of a stoppage, I thought that was another point. You know, when we turn teams over on their half forward line and we can move it quickly, we look pretty good. If we win the stoppage, we look pretty good attacking straight out of a stoppage. But any other method of having to attack looks really laborious. And just some uncontested possession numbers, chaps, for you that sort of illustrate how the Swans were able to outdo us in outside numbers. Becky Webster is averaging 13 uncontested possessions this season. She only had 8 against the Swans. Michaela Bowen is averaging 11.3 uncontested possessions. She had 7 against the Swans. Nina Morrison is averaging 10.6 this season. She had 7 against the Swans. So players that we want to get more ball in uncontested areas. And I would say they are 3 of my favorite ball users, really. Bowen, Morrison, and to some extent Webster. I think Webster is maybe less accurate, but more damaging at times. Like their influence was stopped. We couldn't get the ball out to them. And I thought that was a major, major impact for us in the game.
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
Do you think how do you feel about the I don't know what the actual term in football is in soccer it would be called the stopper or a sweeper. Like the Cats have seemed to be persisting with this really deep, really shallow last player in defense. I don't know if you guys have noticed them. The broadcast mention that and sort of highlight that a couple of times in the games where the Cats will have, it's generally Claudia Gunjaka, but it will sometimes rotate to be Kearns or who's the other one that was down there a lot? I can't remember now. There was a third one that was rotating through. It'll come to me later. But does it feel to you, and again, I don't know if this errs into speculation or risks becoming a bit too nitpicky and negative. Does that seem like a slightly reductive tactic to you guys? Like, and not only to start with it and persist with it, but persist with it deep into a game where you're down by only a kick or two, to like leave a spare in your defense.
It sort of
Yes.
does, yeah, definitely. Like it feels like it's, as I said, it feels like we're regressed to this point back in 22, 21 time, Cats, where we're still learning the game and we're going, yes, how good's football? Whereas we should be where the Swans are, where Crows are, where North Melbourne are, I believe. And I said it to you guys, I think the other teams are really pushing the skills of their best players and their middle six and bottom six players going, this is how we want to play, this is how we're going. It feels like the Cats are still stuck in that. We've got to defend first really well, and we'll have this one person back here controlling everything, watching everything, and being that extra spare. Whereas I think if we should get rid of that and just go for it, just go for the all out win all the time. And if it stuffs up, it stuffs up. But I'd rather see us take a few more risks, but more calculated risks and better decision. We need to get that better decision making to make those risks. But yeah, I think that stopper, sweeper type player doesn't really work the way the women's game's going anymore. Like it worked back in the day when everyone was not as skilled as they are now, but everyone's getting more skilled. Their kicking is a lot better. Like we saw it in the Swans game. They were able to kick it perfectly over the head of that player, that stopper player in defence, to a running player who took a really good mark. Like it feels like it's just
kicking,
holding on to that time of going, defence is going to win it, whereas offence is going to win it. The attack is going to win it more often. And I feel like the Cats, we aren't there yet. And it's frustrating to see because I think I do believe we've got the team, we've got the players, we've got everything there. We just, for some reason, we're not using all the pieces correctly.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, it feels like that last person, like playing really shallow and making sure they're the last stop, seems to acknowledge what we're talking about. It seems to preempt the fact that we're not going to be able to stop a rebound 50. We're not going to be able to stop their chain of possessions in the middle. So in some ways, it's a realistic approach. Like it does feel like, well, they're kind of responding to what we're saying, but it's not like they're doing it once that's happening. It's kind of it's the plan A, and it sort of does seem to be very like openly admitting, yeah, we're not going to stop them. We can't stop them, so we've got to have this player here. And like you said, John, it can work, but it just doesn't seem to be working. So it's not necessarily that, like, it might be a realistic thing to try, but the fact that we're persisting with it every game and so deep into games, when it's clear that the Swans were, like you said, able to kick it over the top, but not even just over the top, but just off the line. Like the amount of times the Swans would just kick it to like sort of shallow 50 and take a mark from there, and they were able to convert reasonably efficiently from that sort of spot where that stopper person isn't going to be able to prevent it anyway. That player's only going to be useful at intercepting if the kick's going towards the goal and they can charge in and cut it off. If it's off the line just to like a shallower target, which I feel like the Swans got really good at hitting up. Or even like a lead out into the pocket. It just didn't feel like it was working that well, and I kind of felt like we might have been better to throw caution to the wind, sort of back ourselves in, try and even up the outnumber further up the ground, and sort of take it on a little bit more. But it's, as I said, it's a little bit speculative. I don't 100% know what their aim is with that role.
There seems to be a bit of conservatism about it. I feel like, and it's tough. I suppose you do have some young players in the side. Erica Fowler, playing just her third game. We've talked about Melissa Bragg. is right on that fringe of Geelong's squad. Zali Friswell was brought back in. She's not an inexperienced player. She's been on the list for a while. Sorry, it's not Erica Fowler, rather. Emma Kilpatrick is the younger player I was thinking of. Erica Fowler has played plenty of AFLW footy. We're definitely not getting enough from the supporting cast. You look at Geelong's, the stats in the AFLW match centre. But look, even you look at captain Meg McDonald, 11 fantasy points. I don't know if fantasy points aren't, the keen analytical, tool, but 3 touches, no marks, 1 tackle, from one of your key defenders. I think that's big, and it's not trying to single people out, but it's just saying it is the fringe cast, but it's also some players that, we probably thought might have performed better in that situation. I just want to highlight, we've got to get to votes because we are just about out of time on the AFLW public segment. The whole Patreon section of the show will be AFLW chat after we wrap here on the public part. But just a quick look, the Cats are now 4 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw since we lost the 2023 prelim to the Lions. In that same time, Carlton have had more wins than us. They're now up to 6, a record of 6 and 8. West Coast, who finished below us that year, they're up to 6 and 8. Sydney, now up to 6 and 8. They've all sprung past us and gone past us. And I think, although it's a simplistic way to look at it, I think it does actually represent what's happened. I think some teams have gone past Geelong in terms of development, and we're going to have to figure some things out really quickly, as we'll get into on the Patreon part of the show. The season is on the line over the next couple of weeks, and finals stuff starts to ride on games like against Essendon this weekend at Windy Hill. So we'll get into that. But let's do votes here, chaps. I'll lead us off here. I'm going to go 1 vote to Nina Morrison. The goal she kicked in that opening quarter was absolute class. 17 touches, 10 tackles, 1 clearance and a goal. I thought she was good in a losing cause. I'm giving 2 votes to Aisling Maloney. I thought she had a slow start to the season in that opening game against North, and then found her feet. And since then, she's looked good. She kicked 3 goals straight from 23 touches. She had the second most disposals on the ground for the Cats. 3 marks, 3 tackles. And I give my 3 votes to Georgie Prasparkas. 27 touches, 11 clearances, 2 goal assists. She gave us a chance, but we just couldn't get over the line. So that's my 1, 2, and 3. What about you, Johnny? And then
exactly the same as yours. Exactly the same. 1 to Nina, 2 to Aisling, and a 3 to Georgie. But yeah, they were definitely the 3 best.
Mine are the same players, slightly different order. I've got the 1 to Maloney, the 2 to Morrison, mostly because I'm a tackle fan. She led 10 tackles, and the 3 to Sparkers.
Awesome. All right, that takes care of our AFLW recap. The public part of it anyway. For the AFLW fans, we will get to an extra, 25 minutes, half an hour on the Patreon part of the show. We'll preview the game against the Bombers, and we'll talk about where we think the Cats sit in terms of what they can achieve after an 0-3 start. We'll have a look at where teams in the top 4 and top 8 finished up in terms of their record on Patreon. But now let's pivot here as we look at the preview for the AFL men against the Brisbane Lions in a qualifying final. The nerves have already started, chaps. For me, at least. I've got the butterflies. I think they sort of pretty much started as soon as the game was over against Richmond in round 24. The Cats, they go into this one. The last time we played the Lions was back in round 15 at Cardinia Park. We went down 6-15-51 to 14-8-92. Brisbane, they got out of the gate hot, and despite the Cats creating 17 scores to 16 after quarter time, inaccuracy was extremely costly. We had Jack Martin, Patrick Dangerfield, and Shannon Neal combined to kick 1 goal 7 on the night. The Cats only had 1 player cross 25 disposals. That was Bailey Smith with 28, while the Lions had 4 players cross that number, with Zorko, Dunkley, Berry, and Ashcroft running amok. Logan Morris and Cam Rayner were the leading goal kickers for Brisbane. They got 8 goals, 3 between them, while Harris Andrews racked up 10 marks down back. Jeremy Cameron managed to snag 4 goals straight out of Geelong's total of 615. The Lions in 2025, they look the goods again, chaps. They've been extremely strong both times against Geelong. It was mainly the second half, I think, the first time out. We only lost by, I think, 9 points. The second time, they looked much more formidable. And they now hold a 4-1 record against the Cats in their last 5 matches. The last time we beat them was in the rain at the Gabba back on my wedding night in 2024. We know how dangerous this team is. They're the reigning premiers. They won't give up their grip on power. And we're going to have to beat them across 4 quarters to claim a home prelim final. Sambo, I'm going to come to you first. Where's the vibe check headed into this one for you?
I will have to try and not keep saying. I feel like I've said this already because we did have a quick chat about it, but it was in the Patreon. So I'm just gonna throw that out the window. I'm not gonna worry about repeating myself because a lot of people may not have been present for that discussion. My vibe check is pretty nervous, but in a really like more of an excited anxiousness. I would say I feel like this is perfect scenario for me. There's a lot of people hand wringing and going, I don't know if we wanted the Lions at this, and the Lions are pretty good at the MCG, and I wish this was, we could play this at our actual home ground, and that part's true. That would be great, but this is prime for me. This is perfect because we've been ticking along, we've been purring along pretty well. People have sort of like to discount us a little bit because of the soft draw. Every time somebody tries to say, "Hey, no, the Cats are going under the radar," someone will scream them down with, they've had a soft draw. So it's just the perfect opportunity to throw some swings at what I think is the other number one contender. I still think the Cats are the contender here. But the other team to beat for me is the Lions. And so it's such a good opportunity to try and do some damage early. And if we lose, hopefully learn from it and keep that in our back pocket because I would assume we will see them again. That's my feeling. My feeling is if we lose to them, we may well see them again this year in a few more weeks. So I'm incredibly nervous because I'm so, as are you guys. We're so one-eyed and just desperately want every possible scalp we can take. But that being said, I feel like we're in a good spot. We're in a really good spot because if we win, everyone's like, holy shit, where'd that come from? And if we lose, I think we can take our licks and bring it back later in the year when it really, really, really matters. So I'm feeling really good.
Johnny?
Yeah, very similar boat. Very nervous, but also really excited. Really looking forward to this game. I'm getting 2022 qualifying final vibes. I've got a feeling it's going to be a very similar game. It's really tight, really close. And I also agree with Sam. I think these two are the clear favourites for the flag. And I think the winner of this one will deservedly become the outright flag favourites. Hopefully it's the Cats. But I'm also feeling really good, really not overly confident, but I'm feeling confident in the Cats' ability to learn from previous games. We're going in really healthy. We're going in pretty much injury-free from the last few rounds. Yes, the soft draw, blah, blah, blah. But, we still have to get into a position to be able to have this soft draw really pay off. Like, we got ourselves in the top 4 from playing the tough teams early on. We had to get those wins, had to bank those wins. So then when it came to this time, we could cruise through and get our players ready. And it's not like we did cruise through. We still had a couple of pretty tough games in there. But, yeah, really nervous. but also confident that we can get it done. And, the team will be biting and eager to have another go at the Lions. Like they've bested us the last couple of times, yes, but I still think we match up really well against them. Their kicking has not been 100% accurate against the scum. They should have absolutely blown them out of the water, but they didn't really kick accurately. But that's the Lions. They can do that, but they can then come back the next week and not miss anything. So I don't think we can. That's like the Lions. They can't look into the last month that we had and go, they've had an easy draw. We'll just go in there and waltz over them and go into a prelim final. How do you do? As the Cats can't just go in going, the Lions, they missed 22 shots and goals. They're going to do the same. That's not going to happen. It's a final. It's going to be bloody tough. And I think it's going to be those small 1% opportunity moments, like a freak goal from a pack or the boundary line, that's going to decide this winner. It's not going to be I can't see it being an absolute bloodbath. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited for this game.
Just on accuracy, I did a little bit of digging. The last 3 games, which have been all Brisbane wins, Geelong have booted 27 goals, 37. So 64 scoring shots. The Lions have had 67 scoring shots. They've kicked 38-29. So almost the flip of each other. They've actually been very accurate against us in terms of between the two teams. They've been far the more accurate side when we've played them. For me, I'm nervous as hell. And as you chaps have said, it's not because I'm pessimistic and going like, oh God, I wish it was someone else. Far from it. I'm totally in the same boat as you guys. I'm glad it's Brisbane. I want Brisbane. We said this in 2022. There were a few years there where I think it was like, oh God, anyone but the Tigers. Oh God, do we have to go and play, GWS or Melbourne at the, in a prelim or whatever it might have been. And 2022, I remember us talking about the pod pretty early on of going anyone, anywhere, anytime. Doesn't matter. Give us the hardest team, because at some point you're going to have to go through them. And for me, I've got to stick to what I said a few weeks ago, because I still think it's true. If I have to rank the teams you chaps have known for a while, I think the flag's going to come out of Brisbane, the Cats, or the Magpies. I've got the Crows as an outside chance, but I think the Rankin business, and also just the fact that they don't have necessarily a lot of recent finals experience, puts them a rung or two below the other 3. And if I have to rank those 3, it's Brisbane, and then it's Collingwood and Geelong. Geelong above Collingwood. Just every time I watch Brisbane this year and the games against us, they've just got this extra gear. And someone had a funny tweet, actually, which was, I can't remember who it was. So if you're listening, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to directly credit you, but it's one of my favorite tweets of the season so far. And they said, the 2025 premiership will be decided by the team that is most prepared to deal with Cam Rayner turning into Prime Lee Matthews for 7.5 minutes. And it's just like, that feels so accurate to me of this Lions team. They just have a quarter or even half a quarter in them where they just elevate and they look like just they can do absolutely anything. But it's interesting we talk about star players, and I actually think this could be a game that's won on the fringe, chaps, because I think that our bottom 6 perhaps has perhaps been a little outperformed in the last few clashes against this Brisbane team. They've probably batted a bit deeper, and when it's come down to it, those bottom 6 for us probably haven't had their best days. Even some of the guys in the middle 6, I think Ollie Dempsey would probably put his hand up for the prelim last year and go, ooh, shit, probably not my best game. So I think it's another opportunity for some of those guys in the middle to lower 6 for the Cats. In those, the middle group of 6 and the lower group of 6, to put their best foot forward. It's another opportunity to show that they're ready for this moment. Do you chaps think there'll be any changes? That's what I want to know. Do you think we'll see much change
Yep.
at the lineup, or do you think it'll pretty
Obviously-
much be what we saw against Richmond, plus anyone
bit
we
up.
rested?
That one change with Shannon Neal obviously will be coming back in. But apart from that, yeah, I can't see any major changes happening in this Cats team. It all looks pretty well settled and in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think our negating game, our tag game, was quite as good the last time we played Brisbane. Like, I think Mullen and O'Connor have
That's a
been
good
doing
point.
their best work in the last
Mm.
part of the season.
Yeah.
And far be it for me to give David King any shout outs, but he did have he was using a phrase in
Oh,
one of his
God.
shows. In one
To
of
his
his
voice.
shows, which was I won't.
Yeah, come on, bring out the impression.
Come on.
No,
Do it.
stop pressuring me.
Do it. You know you
He
want
was
to do
saying
it.
it's gonna undermine my point if I use his voice. it's gonna sound stupid if I make it in his voice.
But then you can just say it's his point, though. So who cares?
No, it's his phrase. It's his phrase
his
that I'm
phrase.
stealing, which is don't be beaten by what
Okay.
you know. And that's the important. That's what I think Geelong have been really good at in the back half of the season. It's not, if something freakish happens, if we can't convert in front of goal, blah blah blah, this kind of stuff. You can only deal with that on the night. But as far as pre-planning and heading into the game, I think there's been a bit of stubbornness around the AFL about things like tagging and etc. And I see teams get beaten by what they know, by what is clear from watching the other games, from looking at all this stuff. And I just think Geelong is so good at the moment at not being beaten by the obvious stuff. And I would suspect we're going to see a Mullen and an O'Connor on two really important players, and maybe even with if one of them is not on Rayner, one of them may be tasked with, if Rayner starts looking like prime Lee Matthews, switch over. Like, I think our stopping power is really good at the moment. Our ability to cripple the weapons of the opposition. And I just don't think we'd quite nailed that the last time we played Brisbane. And we went through that sort of little brief dip in form there before the sort of the last few rounds. And I think a lot of that was to do with that. And so I think that's something that we're going into finals. I think it's a weapon that we've fine-tuned, but not necessarily since we've played these other finals teams. So it's not necessarily something that they will be prepared for.
Yeah, Shannon Neal has a massive role to play, I think, on Friday night, because last time Harris Andrews definitely had the better of him. Big Shannon was in his head. I think we know what a brilliant run into the end of the season Shannon Neal has had. We know he's taken games apart in a quarter. It sort of reminds me of those early days of Tom Hawkins, where he'd do something in a few games and you'd be like, can he then transform that? And there was a breakout game for him, and I can't remember which game it was, but where you finally felt like, oh, he knows he can not only do it in home and away season, he can also do it in finals. So it's a huge test. Harris Andrews and this back line for the Lions, one of, if not the best in the league. And this is the proving ground. And as I said, they are not going to give us anything. It doesn't matter what our lead is. It doesn't matter what quarter is. This is a Lions team that can turn it around. They remind us, not in terms of their attitude or the way they play the game, but the aura that they give off that reminds me of some of those peak Geelong teams is that they never, ever feel that they are out of it. Like, it could be 7 goals at 3/4 time, and I don't think this Brisbane team thinks, oh, we can't get this done. So we got to punch through the chest and rip the heart out, chaps. And it's a great opportunity to do it on Friday night, and I hope we get it done. Can't wait to watch it. And that is all from the public part of this show. We're going to duck over to Patreon now. We're going to talk some more thoughts from the AFLW round 3 clash. We're going to look ahead to the round 4 clash against the Bombers. So please go on, start your 7-day free trial over there on the Patreon. We'd love to see you. But until then, rate, review, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the bell so you get all the stuff here on the Hoops Crew. And until next Tuesday, go the mighty Cats.
Go Cats.
Go the Cats!